I want to think about and how to think about the content. I just wanted to get you ready for the movement. This week you'll want to really try to finish your branding assignment. Okay? Try. If you don't complete it by next week, you'll still have time, of course, but try to get it at least a really tight first pass that you could live with. And of course, then you'll have time to revise. So now I'm going to go ahead and talk about how to create the callouts for your wireframe. My wireframe is finished, and everything looks really sharp. If I do say so myself, I'm pretty happy with it. And now I want to put the callouts on. The first thing I'm going to do for my callouts is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a rectangle. The rectangle that I'm going to create is going to have a stroke of black and a fill of none. There it is, stroke of black, fill of none. The stroke thickness is going to be a 2, so it's not as thick as some of the other lines in here, but it's not as thin as a 1 point. And then I'm going to just simply draw this box that has no fill and a black stroke from corner to corner, like so, and there it is. Now I have a line around my work. So I've boxed it in, and I can see the edges. And if you wanted to change the thickness, you're like, I don't know what you're thinking, 2 points is too thick, I can bring it down to 1. It doesn't really look that different. All right, so that's great. I think that's going to work. Now I want to put in the callouts. So I'm going to go back to the Canvas tool, otherwise known as the Artboard tool. And I'm going to increase the size of the artboard all around the edges, which I think what I thought I just did was draw a black line, but I think I don't know why that looks funny. Right, there's my black line. That looks good. Happy about that. Okay, I see it there. You can't see it so well on the bottom because it's black. Hoping I did a good job with that. There it is on the side. And why it is not showing on the top, I do not know exactly. So I need to figure that out. Why? Why is that not showing? So I've drawn it. I don't know why I can't see it. I have no idea why it wouldn't be on the top. Maybe it's not on the top of my stack. Maybe it went somewhere else in my stack. Nope, there it is. It's on the top. What the heck? What's going on? There's my box. It has a black stroke. I'm going to cut it, Command X. I'm going to select all, Command A, and I'm going to paste it in front, Command F. Now I'm going to zoom in, and maybe it was just a screen redraw error, but I really expect to see my black line here. There it is. Okay, so life is good. There's the edge of my box that I, for whatever reason, didn't think was there, but is there. And again, it's at 1 point, and maybe I wanted it 2, just so it's a little more hefty. All right, so that looks great. And sometimes you see it like a screen redraw error like that. Now, as you remember, I made a layer just for, I need to get rid of these here. I made a layer just for my guides. So I don't really have to see them when I don't want to. So I can just hide them. I'll collapse them and then I'll hide them. And I'm on the wireframes layer, and I'm going to add another layer to my document, and this is going to be called, I'm going to name it, double click, callouts. Callouts. Awesome. And you know what? I think I might need some more room for my callouts. So again, I can go back to my artboard and increase the area around the work that I can now easily put in my callouts. As you saw in some of the wireframes that we looked at for examples, the callouts can take on a lot of different forms and formats. And I'm just going to show you some basic things. This is going to be a short one. Once I show you this, you'll understand exactly what to do. All right, so now I'm taking a look here. I have a line tool, and underneath the line I have an arc tool. And that arc tool is sometimes a nice one to use when you're doing callouts. If not all the callout elements are really straight, you know, you might want things to arc or different things. You can always change the type of line that you want. And this is just the basic line segment tool now. And again, it's using a 2-point line. And here I am going to start my first callout. And I'm going to click and drag across, making this line to here, and grab the text tool. I'm going to zoom in just a snurch, and right after this line, so I'm going to click away first, which is pretty important. Some people do this. I don't always do this, but you can try it. I'm going to show you if you make a fill instead of a stroke on something, and then you go to the ellipse tool. One little trick you might want to try is you could make a little dot here at the end of your line, as if that's just kind of sticking on that spot. You could use an arrow head if you want to. You can draw an arrow or triangle, which we looked at tonight. But I usually just use these dots. I like dots. So I'm coming over here to the text tool now, and I'm going to click one time. That puts in some inline text, and I'll put here header, or actually slider. Text is too large. And I'll bring it down to something much more reasonable, like 24. Okay, slider, and then underneath that I will say, and maybe I feel like writing that with caps, slider, and then shift return to go to the next line, containing 4 images provided by client. That's a nice little job there. And for the top element here, I'll make it bold. So there we have a call out. If you want to, you can select your dot and your line together, holding the shift key to select both the dot and the line. I pressed the caps lock there for a second, but now I have both selected, and I can go object, group. Now they're one piece. And now I can move this down. Maybe I'll put it here, even though that is not where you might have expected me to put it. And I'm switching to the direct selection tool, where I'm now clicking on the right point of just the line and using the arrow tools. Oh, wait a minute. What the heck did I do there? That was not what I wanted. I meant to copy this, so I didn't copy it. I was not looking carefully. So it's a group, pressing Option and Shift. Now I'm definitely on the Option key, and there I have a copy, which I did not have. Now I don't want to just stretch this. I just want to lengthen the line. So I'm clicking only on that point, holding the Shift and the right arrow key, and now I have the spot for my next call out. And here I'll bring the text down, Option drag, or you can just type again, but I might want to just do here. I want it all in caps, feature stories. And I want this to look like, you know, that looks cramped, not great, right? Feature stories. Main stories of the day with titles and basic and kicker. Kicker is a word for the part of a story that gets people excited. Kicker text. Okay. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work well. So I use my sub-select tool and select both of the boxes of text and just the tips of the lines on the right. And just using the arrow key, I can shorten the lines and move the text over together. So that, my friends, is how you're going to do your call-outs. Maybe you want to use the dot bar again and bring it over here to where the logo is. Option, R for rotate. Rotate it around, holding the shift key, arrow to the right, and you're in the groove. And that, my friend, is how you create your callouts. Here we'll say logo. Right. And you'll do that for each one of these parts that you want to show. Maybe you want to use something else. Maybe you need to want to bracket something. So another thing you can do is you can, again, using the text tool, staying with me here, I know it's a lot. Hold the shift key and I'm making a left bracket. That was my left bracket. I just made or typed a left bracket. Now just drag it out larger. Okay, it's kind of bold, probably doesn't need to be bold. Now it's regular, and now it's getting rotated, and now it's moving over. And again, I'm gonna scale it here. Oh, it's awfully thick. Well, that's the font. That's Myriad Pro, and that's how it looks. So this is still text. So that's kind of awesome because I can just change this to another font that's like thin, like letter Gothic, and then get it much thinner, although on a somewhat strange angle. Bracket. Okay, how about Lucida Grand? Oh, also a nice chunky one here. How about something skinny? Myanmar. They're all just the giantest freaking brackets you've ever seen in your life. Last one, last try here. I feel like, yeah, I'm tending to want to use the same things. I don't know what this is. Lao Sangam. It's a nice name, but it looks the same. And a really last try here. What is this? Telugu. Failing miserably on getting a thin bracket here. So I'm sure one of these has a thin bracket. It just might take me longer than I want to spend. All right, so there is a bracket. You could also just draw your own bracket if you felt like it. Or instead of using actually that's called a curly brace. This is a bracket. That's a bracket, but it doesn't look like a bracket. That's a bracket. That's a curly brace. So you could use a curly brace also. It's just I'm not locating a thin one very quickly here. All right, so then I could also put a call out with that, or you could make your, I'm not digging that at all, or you could use your dot line here and put it over here and rotate. I'm going to click right in the center of that circle, Faith, and I'm just going to rotate it up from the middle of the circle, holding the shift key to keep it lined up, and clicking on that top point, and then here I can say, menu items. 4 menu items and a hamburger menu. Okay, so I think that you know what to do now, right? That is how you're going to mark your callouts for your thumbnail. Probably a lot easier to do a thumbnail, and then when you're finished, actually just drop the content in. And I'll show you that next time. Okay, it's 8:15, so we're going to go on to the next tutorial, which is going to be a quick tracing tutorial, and that is for your viewing pleasure to get ready to start doing your layouts. All right, I'm going to stop recording.